What's up guys, Rideshare Guy here, and today I've got a video for you titled, what is the maximum distance of a trip on Uber and Lyft? So if you guys are drivers out there and you're wondering, hey, we all like to show off our longest trips. We like to post, hey, I got this huge surge trip, I got this huge long trip from LA to San Diego, whatever it is, right? Everyone likes to post their screenshots on Facebook groups, on my Facebook page and everything, right? It's kind of a badge of honor, but there are a couple things that you need to watch out for, because I started thinking about this a while back with Uber. What is the limit? I mean, is there any limit? Can you do a trip from LA to New York? I mean, what if your passenger wants to go that far? Should you do it? Should you accept it? Because obviously you don't want to get stuck out in the middle of the nowhere and have your trip end or something like that. So according to Uber's official policy, there's no monetary limit. So the trip could be up to whatever, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, but there is a 4-hour limit. Now, with the caveat, the time limit is 4 hours, but Uber says that the trip may end after 4 hours. So I don't know exactly why they have this policy that the trip may end after 4 hours, because as you guys will see, I have screenshots on my site of Uber rides that are much longer than 4 hours, in the 6, 7, 8 hour range. So I guess this is their policy that it may end after 4 hours, but if you guys are out there driving, I haven't heard of any situations where the trip ended after 4 hours. So if it has, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I can shoot out a quick update. But so Uber does have this policy, but apparently it doesn't apply, which isn't the first time you'll see policies like that with Uber. So on Uber, there really isn't a ton to worry about. You can actually basically do any trip and you should be pretty confident that you're going to get paid. If you're worried about this 4-hour limit, you can always tell the passenger, hey, as a backup, this trip could end after 4 hours, so you need to be ready to either re-request or give me a tip, right? Whatever it is to kind of make up for it. Since technically you're not really allowed to accept cash for the ride, but I'm sure you could accept kind of a large tip in place and kind of go that way. So, because I know that a couple of my riders, Joe wrote an article for me where he actually did a ride from LA to Santa Barbara. I think the total was around $600 and definitely more than 4 hours. So, or LA to Santa Barbara to San Francisco. And I know that total time was over 4 hours, and that was one of the longest trips I've ever seen, and the most money too. I think he came out at over $600. So I've seen $600 Uber X fares. So if you have something that can beat that, definitely let me know. And then I also saw a $900 Uber Black fare too, and I'm pretty sure the time was over 4 hours on that. So definitely, obviously these long rides are pretty lucrative. Think about what's going on the way back. Are you going to get paid for that ride back? When you're kind of considering these long rides. I mean, most of the time with the long, the biggest fares that I see in the $300, $400, $500, $600 range tend to be no surge. People just need to go from LA to San Francisco or LA to Santa Barbara and back, from like one city to the other, and they can't fly or they don't want to drive themselves for whatever reason. Generally, the biggest surge fares that you see aren't the biggest fares. The biggest surge fares you usually see are kind of in like the $50 to $200 range. And because most of the time when it's high surge on New Year's Eve or Halloween or July 4th, people aren't going super far distances. They're maybe just going, 5-10 miles, but they have to pay those absurd surge rates of 5x, 6x. And so that's why the trips end up being in the $50 to $200 range. So that's kind of what the price range you typically see. As far as Lyft, they have a few different limits. Now, Lyft in New York City, it's a $500 limit. New York City and New Jersey is $500, LA is $240, and in all other cities it's $200, which is significantly lower than Uber. So it's definitely something you guys want to watch out for. Now, I'm pretty sure that their policy is that if the trip does end because it hits 200 or if it hits 240 and it automatically ends, you can have the passenger re-request a ride. Now, the only problem on Lyft is that since a lot of their coverage areas are smaller than Uber, you could very potentially be outside of their coverage area when the trip ends. And at that point, if the trip is ended and you're outside of the coverage area, you could be stuck with this passenger out in the middle of nowhere and you can't have them re-request a ride. So if you think you're going to go farther than that, just be careful with where you end the ride is still in a coverage area. Lyft obviously has a smaller coverage area than Uber, so these are kind of the things you want to consider. Now, if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. Feel free to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any other questions, I'm here. All right, take care, guys.